You're listening to the Fantasy Football Podcast with Charles Barr and John Chapman.
All right, man, it's been a long time coming. Episode 26, we're back in 2018. And let me tell you something. The Eagles are the Super Bowl champions.
That was wonderful. And one of the best speeches I have ever seen. Jason Kelce. Oh, my God. That guy. I love the outfit. It is Chapman approved. I dress very similarly in any situation I can come across. And so I respect that man very much.
My God, dude. I honestly... I didn't know those emotions existed in my body, and neither did my brain, and it was tough to just experience all that. As pleasurable as you might think that would be, to be perfectly honest with you, it was quite torturous. I mean, the Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl, I don't know. Obviously, there's been a lot of games that finish right at the end, but that Hail Mary right at the end, I just thought to myself, as that ball's in the air, Gronk's catching that, and they're going to score a 2-point conversion. I didn't have belief.
It's Tom Brady. Like, that makes sense that would have happened, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? You guys, you hang on, and it was destined. It's what it was. And I'm happy for you guys. I felt like I was texting you the whole time like a therapist. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy the experience. Because, I mean, I remember when my team won their first Super Bowl, and then their second Super Bowl, and then the third Super Bowl. But that's okay. I mean, the 49ers are different. So, right off the bat, okay, we got an awesome, jam-packed episode. We're talking Dynasty ranks. We're talking NFL Draft. We're breaking down more of the Eagles stuff. We're going over top positions for next year, so on and so forth. But before we get to that, I got a question for Charles. He usually does this for me. Okay. If you had to guess how many NFL teams have not won a Super Bowl out of the 32 teams, what is the number you would say? You 13. Might know this. I don't know. You do know this. No. Okay.
Oh, is that the number?
Yeah, 13 is correct. So the Bengals, Bills, Browns. Browns are going to be there for a while. Cardinals, Chargers. The Eagles were the 13th. You guys won your Super Bowl, so now it's down to 12. Falcons, Jags, Lions, Panthers, Texans, Titans, and Vikings have not won a Super Bowl. And on top of that, this is the lowest tier of the lowest tier. The Browns, Jaguars, Lions, and Texans have never reached the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So those four, if you are part of those fan bases, nobody can ever call you a bandwagon fan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there is a certain pride that comes to that. And I also say, too, that the Jaguars and the Panthers, they're kind of in the league of their own, though, because they were introduced later into the NFL. As expansion
for sure. So if you are a Browns or Lions fan, 1, you love Barry Sanders. 2, you're from Cleveland.
What do you think the correlation or ratio is of those people who also like to be I don't know, they like to be slapped in the face or pooped on during sex, stuff like that?
Pretty high. 1, you're following a team called the Browns. So the Cleveland Steamer is also associated with that. So we're 2 for 2 in that category. But having said this, I was interviewed by a student today. I don't want to get into that too much, but my question was, if you were not a 49ers fan, what team would you be a fan of? And I went with the Lions. I would choose the Lions because they've never been to a Super Bowl, and it's a terrible city. No offense, Detroit, but RoboCop was based in your city and basically got it right. And, I would be a Lions fan. That's who I would choose.
That is so tough for me. I'm going to say right now that I'm probably going to lean – it's going to surprise you, I think. First, taking you out of the equation because I really do like the Niners because of you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of local support. Actually, I'm going to go ahead with the Chargers. I don't know why. I've always just kind of felt them a little bit.
Hey, it's okay. I live in LA now, recent transplant, and nobody here even knows they're a team here.
Yikes.
But I love Phillip Rivers, that defense, and I believe this, probably one of the top 3 teams in the NFL with the fewest holes. Like, I'm a big draft guy, and we'll talk about that in a second, but they could draft anything.
Yeah,
because
that's
they are
awesome.
actually pretty solid throughout. You calling? Oh, here we go. It's about to get fun here on the show. Why not get crazy? There you are. What's up, buddy?
There we are. Little technical difficulties there. We're back in action, though. Can we talk about this Super Bowl a little bit more? Just, and I know we want to get on to some other things, but I just want to hear from a non-fan's perspective. What was your kind of thoughts on the game? What are your takeaways?
I'm a defensive guy, but that game was entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
You had the evil Patriots who cheated the last time they played your team and won. And I love that Doug Peterson held 2 walkthroughs and they didn't run one actual play that was on their script just in case the Patriots were recording their practices. Because the Patriots are cheaters. I think everybody knows that. But they're still the best. Right. And so to beat them in such an awesome game, Nick Foles, what would you say, top 2 quarterback all time?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, it was absolutely entertaining. My son loved it, and he has a hard time focusing on most games from start to finish, but he was with it. And man, it was so many records broken, came down to the wire. My favorite play of the whole entire game was right before the half, 4th down and goal. Instead of kicking it, they go for it with the crazy play that was actually an illegal formation, but
right,
just awesome, just so great, so great.
And I felt like the coaching staff just basically they all took Viagra pills right before, and that's how they coached.
That's correct.
They held the pedal down to the floor the whole time, and everybody's like, "Let up," and they're like, "Nah," we can't win if we do that. And so, just as a fan. There was no other way to do this. There was no other way to finally get the Eagles' very first Super Bowl than to go against the king of the league, so to speak, and be the assassin, and to do it in the most heart-wrenching, epic, passionate way. And I'll say another thing, too, obviously supervised here. I've never seen a team with this kind of swag through a season. Maybe it was because finally they started to allow the celebrations. But, them doing the electric slide and the baseball swings with Mike Trout in the crowd and all of that stuff just made for such a special season. And it was such a weird season because about 8 games in, I started to be like, oh, my God, like...
Charles with hope is a sad thing if that makes any sense. Because as soon as he realized, like, they were good... He was like, "Oh man, I feel like things are about to get bad. They can't be this good." And I think that's true for the city of Philadelphia. I mean, you guys literally won the Super Bowl and decided to celebrate by burning your city to the ground
and licking dog shit. Did you see this?
Oh, eating the horse shit? Yeah.
Oh yeah, horse shit.
Not even upset. Not even upset.
No, not even a little bit. Well, man, we could honestly spend so much time, but I think what's time to get into, what's cool is that there is a website and really a Twitter group and a great group of guys.
Yeah.
Full press coverage that John writes for, and that our podcast covers and supports, and we got some cool news to kind of share out, and that's that. First of all, go follow Full Press Coverage. That's the first thing you should be doing right now. Hitting your Twitter up and saying, all right, where are they at? And they have a designated writer and a designated Twitter handle for coverage for those teams.
For every single team. So their main Twitter handle is FPC_NFL. But then after that, it's every single team, right? So FPC_Eagles, FPC_49ers, AFC West, every single team, every single division. There's everything that you want there. They cover it all, even college football. Now, I help out with the Niners. The NFL draft is kind of my thing. So I break down a ridiculous amount of film, and we are about to launch a massive mock draft. Go ahead, Chuck.
So that's the thing. I don't know if there's any first-time listeners with us today, but here's the deal.
No such thing. You're out of family members.
That's right. But my counterpart, John, is a guy who broke down film for a living at one point, and definitely both of us are Texas boys, played high school football. We love the sport. We love and eat it, and eat and breathe the sport. So all that being said, we use John's talent of breaking down film to help us create, profiles for players and big boards, and that's what this is going to be. So it's going to be the FPC team using John's big board. We're going to have a big board of 100 players, and each writer that's assigned to that particular team is going to be on the clock. I think we're at 2 teams per day.
Yeah.
And so
32 different teams with their kind of the main editor for each single team, and then the writers underneath that are talking it over and who they want to go by. And I mean, it's just a ridiculous amount of information. Obviously, scouting profiles, custom video breakdowns, player comparisons, where they should be drafted, all these different things, best game, worst game, coaching notes. I mean, it's just a ridiculous amount of information that we're giving away for free. And so anyway, we are just throwing it all out there for you guys because we don't do this. Charles and I know you think we should probably make millions, but we just do this because we love it.
Well, I think, too, part of the reason I wanted to start this is because there's just been so many times that, and I'll give more credit to John, that we've made predictions, more John than me, that have just been right. I mean, we were talking about Kareem Hunt way a long time ago. We were talking about dudes like for forever and ever ago. We've always been people who have been obsessed with going deep into the draft, not just round 1, round 2. John and I's favorite days are day 2 and day 3.
Oof. I mean, it's the very first days I put in for work, not family vacation, but the NFL draft. And, Charles and I have gone to the draft before. We are both flying to the draft again this year. And lots of whiskey and lots of fun times are definitely ahead, which I'm super excited about. And last year, I mean, we freaking killed it, you and I did. I mean, we broke... Yeah. We did pretty good for ourselves as far as what we thought the draft success would be, and so on and so forth. I mean, we both were in love with Marshawn Lattimore and the runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year, Tre'Davious White. I mean, we both called those guys out early, and those are definitely the top 2 defensive picks. Reuben Foster, but he's on my shit list right now. I don't want to talk about him. I shouldn't have said his name. Now I'm mad.
So real quick, what's neat about the FPC big mock draft is that you have a person who's invested in your team, right? It's not some guy who is, looking at big board and said, who can I slot here? This is somebody who's invested in that team.
Exactly. They spend their entire year breaking down their salary cap and all these things. So it's not just like me. I could tell you the Niners and their salary cap, who their most expensive contracts are, who they're targeting free agency. But this is going to be done by somebody for each team that is all in on that team.
Right. So, a guy who's releasing a mock draft and he's like, let's say a Niners fan, I'm sure he's going to be real non-biased towards the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Rams. So this actually is trying to eliminate that bias and then to work from a consistent big board. So anyways, that's what we got going, and I think it's pretty unique. I think it's different. And,
it starts March 7th, so that is the first date of the or the full press coverage mock draft, March 7th, so look forward to that. But anyway, man, let's jump into some fantasy. These are fantasy football fans. Let's do some fantasy bits.
All right, man. Well, take us there. I know you've been working on the offensive guys, so why don't you talk about those?
Okay, so as far as the draft goes, I've gone through and broken down about the top 60 offensive skill players already that are coming out of the draft, and there are a plenty. So you have your true pocket passer, your kind of how you draw the quarterback up, and Josh Rosen, the quarterback out of UCLA, and Sam Darnold out of USC. Those are the 2 kind of cream of the crop. Those guys are both going to the top 10 picks no matter what. I would probably say top 5. Then you have your stud Baker Mayfield out of OU. Definitely a douchebag, but absolutely amazing as far as what he does on the field. Competitiveness, level 10. Leaves it on the field, level 10. Everybody loves him on his team, level 10. But he's only 6 foot, and he played in a wide-open system with the best pass protection the world has ever seen. So what's he going to do if he goes to kind of a bad team picking in the top 10, so on and so forth. So there's lots of, if you're in a super flex or a 2 QB league, oh my goodness. this is the year to have a first-round pick. So that's kind of the quarterback position, and there's lots of outsiders. Lamar Jackson, former Heisman Trophy winner. His legs are amazing. People compare him to RG3. That is ridiculous. He is way better than that. His motion throwing's kind of weird because he flicks the wrist, kind of like Randall Cunningham. But we don't see a lot of that. So Josh Allen is like freaking Big Ben, but bigger with a stronger arm, if that makes any sense. But he's really inaccurate. And then you got the former baseball player Mason Rudolph at OSU. So there's a lot of QBs. We're going to have more quarterbacks go in the first round this year than we probably have in the last 5 years.
Can we talk about the last guy for a second? Because, think back to probably, a year ago, that Mason Rudolph was one of those guys that they're like, oh, yeah, this guy's going to be top 10 pick. And then he's fallen from grace. And tell me about his upside and his downside.
Oh, his upside is up there with anybody. And that's the thing with this draft is coaching matters and scheme fit matters. Josh Rosen is probably one of the best picture-perfect flag football quarterbacks you could ever design. He's a timing and tempo kind of guy, anticipation. That's what he's about. But if he goes to a team with a poor quarterback, you're wasting him. So the sad thing is he's already come out and said, I really don't want to play for Cleveland. And I think Cleveland coaching staff is absolutely abysmal. But their offensive line is actually decent. So if you're looking at a top 10 team, man, that's a good spot to go. Mason Rudolph, he has everything you could ever want. He's just very inaccurate. And again, it's kind of a scheme-producing system he's in with OSU. So he's a project guy. He needs to sit and learn the pro system. Otherwise, you're going to waste these guys' talent, which we see time and time again in the NFL.
What's the best-case scenario for Lamar Jackson? What team or teams, one or two? Go ahead.
Great question. And I love that. I wish he would go to an Andy Reid system. The Eagles, however, no need for a quarterback. The Chiefs, no need for a quarterback. He needs to go to a project system that is going to allow him to use his athleticism and quick read everything. He would dominate in that because his release is not traditional. It's literally like a shortstop just pitching the ball to second base, but the ball goes 30 yards. He has one of the strongest arms in the NFL draft. It's just a different delivery. His footwork's amazing. He has the best footwork in the draft. It's not even close. But he's not used to a traditional system, and if you try to put him in one, you're going to have a 1 to 2 year learning curve. So I wish he'd go to the Eagles, personally. I think that'd be the best spot.
Okay. He's not going to the Eagles. Give me a realistic spot. Give me a realistic place.
Him backing up at the Chiefs would be amazing. Outside of that, Tennessee, again, he can't go to a place where he's going to start right off the bat.
I want to
have to be a backup. Gosh, that would be the worst thing in the world for him. He never takes the snap under center. He's not used to a 7-step drop. He's never used to doing play action where he turns his back to the defense. It could work, but it's not working now. They are built to win now, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think of a guy like that if you really actually invested in him, and who cares what he didn't do in college. Give him a year to work on that training camp.
Exactly correct.
And, get him out there maybe the last, 3 games of the season because your team's obviously not going to the playoffs or whatever. Invest in a guy like that. Man, Could you imagine the upside to a guy like that who gets trained in the pocket but then has the ability to get outside with that super athleticism? Because who's an athlete like him in the NFL right now?
And if somebody says move him to receiver, stop listening to that person.
Right.
They're not watching film. He reads defenses. He has the arm. He has anticipation. He just has his system is limited based off of Bobby Petrino's system. So but he's a quarterback. He is a quarterback. He's not a receiver.
Good, man. You know what? I think we should move on to the running backs because I feel like that there's just so much contention about who's really up in that. We know who's number one. Come on.
Number one, Saquon Barkley. Holy freaking cow. I just pray to the football gods he does not go to the Browns.
Why?
One, they have the best third down running back in the NFL, I believe, and Johnson. I just Duke Johnson, I don't want him to go there because somebody's going to be hurt. Two, the coaching staff of the Browns is abysmal. They have no idea how to game plan. They don't monitor touches throughout the game, and so that's just not an issue.
I gotta push back on you for that Browns comment because.
Okay.
So let's just pretend let's say what his ceiling is. I'm gonna say his ceiling's maybe like a LaDainian Tomlinson. Okay, let's just go.
Okay.
Let's get crazy.
Why not?
And you're telling me
the funny thing is you said that is my player comp for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean it's mine too. Just looking at that TCU film, but okay, so you're telling me pass on an all-time great for a guy who's good on third down. You know
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying no. He should go there at the 4th spot.
He should go number 1.
The 4th pick.
No.
No,
listen.
No.
I'm not saying I would do that, and I'm not an advocate of running backs that high, but I'm just saying purely based on talent.
His talent is there. He does have holes in his game. He's not a power runner. You see it sometimes on 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2. He can do it. He just doesn't like to. But I think there's 4 premier key positions in the NFL, and that is quarterback, then pass rush, then cornerback on defense, then left tackle. And I think if I was to make a list of the top 22 positions, and I think running back is 20, 21, or 22, it's going to be bottom 3. And so I hate to take that talent at number 1, especially when you have a hole at quarterback, especially when you passed on Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson, and Patrick Mahomes, and maybe even Mitch Trubisky, which I don't put up there. Like, you've got to get a quarterback first. And so I would prefer Josh Rosen at that number 1 spot, which is what I would do, and then hope Barkley's there at 4. And if he's not, you got 2 second-round picks too, and you can get some of these other guys like Sony Mitchell, who's my number 2 guy from Georgia. Not a lot of people are as high on him as I am. A lot of people are high on him, but
give me why. Tell me why he's 2, because I have not seen him that high.
Because he fits every single system. 0 weaknesses in his game. Can be an all 3 down feature back, can be a 3rd down back, can be a 1st, 2nd down back, can fit zone, power run. He fits everything. He checks every single box, and he is a smooth. He's Willis McGahee. That was my comp for him before the injuries. He has all of the upside. And there is not one hole in his game. Receives out of the backfield amazing. Power, speed. He's going to crush the combine. Love Sony Michel. Number 3, I have Darius Geis, who everybody loves. But he's not the same guy after his injury. His 2017 film's not near as good as his 2016 film. So I love Geis, but he needs to go to a power running game. He has to go to a power running game.
Okay.
So
who do you got after that?
Ronald Jones, everybody says he's basically the beast out of Texas that killed it for the Chiefs. Goodness, Jamal Charles comp. I have him as a Larry Johnson. He's a little bit bigger guy, speed guy with an NFL body. He breaks arm tackles like crazy. Then I got Kerryon Johnson out of Auburn. He is kind of the wild card. I would put him in that kind of Alvin Kamara role. He is a guy that just breaks tackles. I have him as a poor man's Adrian Peterson, if that makes sense. Upright runner, but produced crazy numbers in the SEC, over 20 touchdowns, 15 to 100 total yards. Like, he is there. And then we get to Go ahead.
I was going to say, his ceiling is poor man's Adrian Peterson. His floor is Alfred Blue. Right.
He's going to play. Yeah, I like that. No, and that fits. He's going to play in the NFL, but he's got some holes in his game, which is kind of that's the rough thing. And he's not great in pass protection, which is these guys have to have that to get onto the field. And so you'll hear some people talking up Rashard Penny, the running back out of San Diego State, and they'll talk about all the yards he got. He's the worst pass protecting running back I've ever seen in my life. So he's not going high. He's not going to get playing time outside of 1st and 2nd down because he just refuses to pass block. And he can't catch. So, those guys just do not work based on film. Nick Chubb, Mark Walton, those are guys I love. But outside of those guys, man, you're just kind of taking shot in the dark. But there are 6 studs that you see going in the early 1st round and early to mid-2nd round that are going to be players. We see it every year. It's just what happens.
All right, man. Do you want to move on to wide receiver?
Real quick, Cortland Sutton is an absolute beast, but with receivers, you have to understand the situation and quarterback that they go to matters.
Right.
It matters. The number one guy that everybody fought over last year, Corey Davis, he had all the tools. He went to an inept offense with a quarterback that's decent, Marcus Mariota. But, I mean, it was like Jeff Fisher was his quarterback, his head coach, and it showed. Now that you got a new offensive system in there, those numbers are going to change for Corey Davis. So Corey Davis is an automatic buy low guy. But Cortland Sutton, absolute beast. He is your 6'4" basketball player. Think A.J. Green type player. And he's mean as hell. He's a mean guy. He refuses to go out of bounds, loves contact, loves talking. So, like, I'm trying to think. Put Chad Ochocinco in A.J. Green's body, and that's kind of what you got. Kristen Kirk out of Texas A&M. He is that burner, kind of the smaller guy that just is an all out. He might be one of the fastest people at the draft. Like, I'm really curious to see what he's going to run. As far as offense go, 5'11" guy, but just he's a strider. He's one of those guys that when you see him run, you're like, is he running that fast? But then everybody takes bad angles. Think about like Odell Beckham running a slant and he catches it and he has that perfect kind of sprinter stride. Yeah. And everybody just is running the wrong trajectory. He's not Odell Beckham, nowhere near that. But he's that type of athlete. And so I really like Kirk. Anthony Miller, he's your tiny little Antonio Brown number one wide receiver. So he's small and he's short, but he is a number one wide receiver. Runs the full route tree and is physical as hell even though he's small.
Say that name one more.
Anthony Miller out of Memphis. Former walk-on, which is awesome, right? But 32 touchdowns in 2 seasons, back-to-back years putting over 1,400 yards. Like, he's a volume, small, number one wide receiver. So some people will tell you he's a slot guy. Hell no, he's not. He runs the full route tree and is physical and destroys man coverage. So just because his body's 5'11", he is a true number one wide receiver. Now, there's not going to be the elite top wide receivers that you see in a lot of drafts. I don't even think there's going to be one wide receiver taken in the first 10 picks. But this is a deep late first, second round draft. Like, you're talking 7 to 10 wide receivers taken within the first 2 rounds. So it's going to be a while till one comes off, but then they're flying off. I mean, you got Auden Tate, big old tall guy out of Florida State. Calvin Ridley, who everybody else thinks is their number one. I do not. But he is a crystal clear, crisp route runner with good hands. I don't see the ceiling.
Yeah, give me the knock on him. I mean,
there's no ceiling. He is a number 2 wide receiver at best. You're thinking a possession wide receiver, so I'm thinking Golden Tate with way less speed, without the elusiveness. Great routes, great hands, but he's a number 2 guy. He's Emmanuel Sanders. Like, that's just who he's going to be. He'll never be the guy. I don't see him ever putting up double-digit touchdowns unless Drew Brees is his quarterback, maybe. But I like him a lot. Really high floor, but really low ceiling. And I'm not going that high with him.
And to your point about the class of the wide receivers, yes, it's deep, but there's no, really high top end.
No.
But that's kind of what I thought when I watched this film. I watched him and I said, he's good, but I'm not blown away by him. And this guy's the number 1 guy out of all the receivers. And then that's not true based on the film that I've seen of other guys, but not buying it. A typical ESPN guy right at the top, Alabama, the whole deal.
Yeah.
We'll see you next year. Those who disagree, I don't see it in him either.
I don't want it. But anyway, there's so many studs. So what you're looking for in Dynasty and Fantasy, you want the guys that go to the situation. There's going to be a lot of red zone threats, big wide receivers. Equanimeous St. Brown out of Notre Dame, another big guy. Traquan Smith out of Central Florida. A lot of people are high on DJ Moore out of Maryland, who's kind of the speed, kind of wow guy. But his highlights in his film don't match. So many bad plays. He doesn't catch the ball well. Whenever he does, watch out. But very inconsistent. So Michael Gallup out of Colorado State, I think he's probably like the Michael Crabtree of the bunch. Love this kid. Lit up the Senior Bowl. He's an awesome route runner, coming in at 6'2", just complete wide receiver without the elite speed. If he runs in the 4.4s, he probably has the most to gain at the combine. So keep an eye out for that.
Higher ceiling than Zay Jones last year?
Yeah, definitely. Zay Jones was my Calvin Ridley last year.
Yeah.
And somebody that is going to contribute and start day one, but you're not looking for him to make Pro Bowls or All Pros. He's somebody that's going to be productive, but he's not going to be an All-Pro receiver ever. He just can't. He doesn't have the physical tools.
Yeah.
And the situation.
Can I just redirect you for 1 second? Just thinking about Nelson Aguilar and what he was, and then how it took him a year to get there. Did you see that actually for him being his ceiling, or did he surpass his ceiling in the Super Bowl?
So I loved him coming out of the draft. I mean, you saw it. And you had the Eagles try to make him an outside number one wide receiver against the top corner, and they said, okay, his specialty is not route running, and once he gets thrown off and his hands get put on him in his route, he gets pissed off and he disappears. So what did the Eagles do in the great coaching staff that they are? You move him to the slot, and you put him off the line. And you create space for him through coaching, formations, alignment.
Yeah.
And then boom. It shows you so much how much coaching matters. And if you put the wrong guy or the right guy in a wrong situation, they disappear. He was one of the worst wide receivers in the league last year and absolutely amazing this year. I mean, hats off to that guy. I love that he was able to fight back and get that. Man, so cool. But yeah, he's at a ceiling. He's not going higher because he can only play one position, and that's slot.
Yeah. Sorry to, take you off track, but I always think about that when we have these projections, and it's as you say, right? Coaching matters. Look what Chip Kelly did to some of these players. Look at what some of these other coaches have done to the potential of these players. And that doesn't always mean that your vision of what this player can be is wrong. That's a thing from people who are doing some of these profiles. I pay attention to the content of the things that they said in terms of the specifics, not the overall, A+, A-, whatever. Because like you said, where somebody goes matters.
Yeah, it's the Jeff Fisher rule. That's some 7 and 9 bullshit. Right. He has ruined careers because he refuses to adapt his coaching style to what his players are good at.
Yep.
And yeah, we see that over and over again. I'm really excited about Tennessee this upcoming year, man. So excited. I think it's going to be great.
So I don't know if you finished your wide receivers.
As far as finished, I've got my top 11 set up, and so whenever I say my top 11, there's some other guys I like. I will not put anybody on my big board until I've watched 3 full games of game film on that person, at least. So most of the top guys is probably 4 to 5, 6, so on and so forth, but there are some guys that I like that there's not a lot of film out there on, and so I don't want to jump to conclusions just based off of 1 or 2 games. But yeah, so we're good there. Tight end, real quick, just 2 names stand out as far as fantasy-wise goes. Hayden Hurst out of South Carolina and Dallas Goedert out of South Dakota State.
Yeah.
I think these 2 guys are going to be fantasy studs. We saw last year with the big 3 that came off the board in the first round. I don't think we're going to have first-round guys this year. Maybe Hayden Hurst slips in the back 20s, but that's going to be it. But those are the receiving threats. There's lots of good blocking tight ends, but those are the only 2 that... And the funny thing is about Dallas Goedert, he only has 9 fingers. He lost a finger, and he is an absolute beast, even though he played at South Dakota State, which is a super small school. But that guy, he is a hell of a catcher. He catches everything. Think Greg Olsen, but not as good a blocker. He's not as solid, but the receiving threat is there.
Man, and again, like a guy like that getting into, like, let's say the Saints or somewhere like that.
They're going to take somebody. Now, they lost their second, so they gave their second to the 49ers last year to pick up Alvin Kamara, which was a great trade for them. But
right.
So they have the first and the third, so we'll see. I think one of those guys probably not going to make it to the third, but we'll see what happens. The Saints move around a lot, which is fun.
Would it be time now to move in, maybe kind of talk a little bit about free agency, or were there any other guys you wanted to cover?
No, that sounds great, man. Let's jump over.
So I'm thinking about, again, staying in the topic in the lane of fantasy. I'm always thinking about, cap situations, guys that might have to come off teams, and then 2, free agents that are going to make a major impact somewhere. What are some free agents that you're looking that they could sort of change their fates around a little bit.
Nope.
Yeah, go ahead.
So right off the quarterback position, I think there's two guys that are just waiting, and that is Kirk Cousins. We're going to see he's being held hostage right now. And then Nick Foles, which, do you think he's staying in Philly?
It's really hard to tell because I've been just pouring. I'm like on Over the Cap every day. The salary cap's gonna change and the salary contracts are gonna be different the next day. I literally go there every day and I'm trying to mess around with them. Okay, if they do this, it highly. I mean, there's so many things to consider here. Jason Peters.
I think he stays. I really think he stays. Just because you don't know Carson Wentz's health. Things like that. So,
well, there was that thing that came out that apparently that doctor said that Carson Wentz's injury is as severe as RG3. So, yeah, you have to, so that you don't ruin not just a future prospect, but a guy who looks to potentially get you back to the Super Bowl maybe a few times, potentially, right?
Right. So let me ask you this: if somebody offered up a late first, would you trade him? As the Eagles GM, I'm giving you the number 25 pick.
Jesus.
Would you take it?
I don't know if I can. That's what's crazy. And here's why. How much is a first-round pick worth if I ended up getting my guy injured further? Have I not just damned all of the future picks in the future by risking Carson Wentz? Now,
right.
Then the other question is, someone says, okay, we can get another backup QB in there. Fine, I'm actually all right with that. If I know that there's a decent backup QB that's going to hold place for, not $7 million.
Right.
But I don't know. You're looking at the toughest schedule I've ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah, when you sent me that, I just had the look of, it's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad, man. I mean, it's got the revenge games on deck, dude. The Vikings are just drooling purple goo out of their mouth. It's just, it's going to be rough. But with that being said, how do you do that to your team? I say you leave Nick Foles in there with the big dick Nick Foles swag, and you let it ride, because if he plays anything like he played in the playoffs, well, that schedule can kiss my ass. We're going to win some games.
I feel you. Now, real quick side note, and this is probably the most important thing we'll talk about today.
Yeah.
Your boy, Carson Wentz, gets engaged, and I got to be honest, kind of settled.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's what happens sometimes when you get...
If you want to know how shallow I am, I'm just going to be really honest with you. I'm sure she has a nice personality. I'm sure she's a great human being. I'm fine with all those things. But come on, man. I can't do better than you.
Yeah. Ooh. So that's... hope your wife's not listening. Because it's like a double backhanded compliment. I don't know. There's some...
It's only losing. So, let's jump back into content. A.J. McCarron's a quarterback that has been granted his freedom. But again, whatever team he goes to, they will be drafting a quarterback. So if he goes to a QB-needy team, they're not going to be happy with A.J. McCarron. He's going to be seen as a stopgap until a younger kind of difference maker steps in. We jump into running backs. Le'Veon Bell, he's going to be franchised again. There's no way they're going to sign him to a long-term deal. Outside of that, Carlos Hyde and Isaiah Crowell, I think they're going to land on a team that maybe doesn't get that drafted stud running back. And so if they get feature roles, they're going to be fantasy relevant. But if not, guys like Jerick McKinnon, Frank Gore's always going to be there. Dion Lewis.
He's always there.
He is, and he's still playing. But that's the thing. If he goes to a team where he's going to get work, because you can't keep him off the field, because he's one of the best pass-protecting running backs of all time. So, yeah, I get it. He's 34. Yeah, I get it. He averages about 4 yards a carry. But you know your quarterback will not get hurt if Frank Gore's in there, and he's always going to be in the right spot. So
listen, we've all been on that basketball court where somehow or another – there's all these freak athletes out there, and then there's just this white-haired, silver fox guy just draining threes. They exist, man. They're rare. I'm trying to be that. But, you got to respect Frank Gore, man, because he puts it down being an old man. So
he's a beast. Going to be 34 years old, just want to say. Anyway, wide receivers, man, they are falling quickly. Jarvis Landry just got the death tag. Man, that sucks. Ugh, I feel so bad. They got to get rid of the franchise tag. Sammy Watkins is the huge one because I think he's going to get released because the Rams cannot franchise. There's 3 players they're looking to franchise. Tremaine Johnson, their corner. LaMarcus Joyner, their safety/nickel. And then Sammy Watkins. So,
bye-bye.
Sammy Watkins is only 24 years old. Most people don't know this. He's younger than a lot of the receivers coming out. And if he walks, he's going to get loaded up on a deal for a pass-heavy team. And the talent is there. If he goes to the Niners, holy freaking cow, I'm jumping up and down. Allen Robinson, I think, is more important than Sammy Watkins, but I don't think he gets out. I think he's going to be a franchise or a long-term deal.
You better watch out if a Sammy Watkins ends up with a Russell Wilson. I mean, that kind of matchup. I mean, now Russell playing the way he's playing and giving him a legit receiving core, my God.
Yep.
Be a problem.
And there's lots of little guys. Jordan Matthews, he's free. Dante Moncrief, Mike Wallace, Terrell Pryor. There are guys that are out there at the wide receiver position that are going to land somewhere. You just, man.
Come on, man. We know where Jordan Matthews is going. We know.
Where?
Come on, man. The Eagles are going to clear cap space, and he's going to come back on a deal.
Why would you go back to a team that traded you away? Why would you do that?
Because he is best. I mean, when I'm talking about
Is it Stockholm Syndrome?
Yeah, dude. When I'm talking about best friends, go on Twitter. Go look at that. Jordan Matthews just got married. Go look at who's all there. It's all Eagles. I mean,
okay. More important question: did he marry up or down?
He married up.
Oh, okay. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, from what I.
But so if he goes back, he's a slot receiver. He proved to everybody in the NFL he can't play outside. Nelson Aguilar is better than he is in that role. So if he goes back to the Eagles, what's he going to do?
True that. I mean, but how much of a fall off is Jordan Matthews? No offense, I'm really sorry what I'm about to say. From Torrey Smith. Look at what Torrey Smith. Look what Torrey Smith did.
Torrey Smith does one thing good. He gets deep. He doesn't catch the ball whenever he gets there, but he gets deep.
Right.
And so I think that put stress on. So hold on. I'm looking at Jordan Matthews. I'm seeing 2 different lady friends. One is not of my ethnicity, and one is.
Man, I don't know. I knew you were going.
Both are solid. So first off, congrats and congrats.
That's so sad. That's so sad. We just had to allude to that kind of communication. That's so sad.
It's National Margarita Day, so Jesus. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're just double checking. You got no filter. You're like, I think this is wrong.
I'll do my research after the podcast. I apologize, but positive in both accounts. Now
we're in a weird place.
I don't know. Torrey Smith, I got you. Yeah. But he contributed so much in the Super Bowl. He did drop some passes, but he made some key plays.
No doubt. I'm just saying, we know. I think I know where he wants to be because I'm his best friend. No, I mean, I just see that there was like an actual friendship between Wentz and Jordan Matthews. That team was not happy with that trade. Obviously, it worked out for the better.
Dude, I'll tell you this, though. Ronald Darby was the worst player on your team in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, he played bad.
Ooh, I was cursing at him.
Yeah, Gronk owned him.
Not just Gronk, though. I mean, like, whoever he was guarding was dominating.
Right.
But anyway, let's finish up this. We got to pull this episode to a close.
We got to stop talking about Jordan Matthews' wife and
I think that's a problem. We should talk more about Jordan Matthews' wife or wives. I don't know. Maybe he's Mormon. But anyway, back to tight end.
Wait, I got one more question. This dude, how can you not? Because to me,
Be Mormon?
No. Listen, I almost turned. No, I wouldn't have. I think that there's an organization that has more pressure on them than anybody else. Do you care to guess who my guess is? At number 1.
Pittsburgh?
No. I think it's the Vikings. What do you do?
The answer's easy. You throw all the money that you have at Kirk Cousins, and you win a freaking Super Bowl with that amazing defense. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Tell me this. Why can't Case Keenum repeat what he did with that team? And then two, tell me that there won't be some fall off because Kirk Cousins is going to take a minute to adjust to those receivers. And how much is that worth? And is he the long-term answer?
So Kirk Cousins has never had receivers to adapt to. He's got new people every single year, and he's put up crazy numbers. Two, we saw what happens when Case Keenum plays a decent defense. Completely exposed in that situation. Yes, his receiving core is pretty legit. Yes, his O-line is pretty legit. Once Dalvin Cook comes back, that's going to help tremendously. But you had that amazing defense, and you got destroyed that bad. It doesn't matter if Case Keenum had his best game ever. They got lucky to make it to that game, first off. The Saints should have won that game. Case Keenum, he's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. If you put Case Keenum on the Eagles, you don't win the Super Bowl.
Maybe. I mean, people would have said that about Nick Foles, too. I mean, they did
say that.
They did.
Yeah,
they would have said that. Here's the thing. There were times in the season where he just looked unstoppable. It looked like he was winning the games. The defense was like number 2, which is crazy to say, okay?
Yeah. Because
that defense is bonkers good. But there were games where it was like, all right, obviously the Vikings defense is holding it down, but this guy's winning the game. He's like doing it, you know? He's like, in these 3rd and 12s, and he's scrambling out of it, and he's throwing a dart, right there, perfectly caught, all that. And it's like, how do you give up on that?
You saw his ceiling, and I'm not saying you give up on it. If you can get him on a team-friendly deal, and you could say Teddy Bridgewater, whatever. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I hope he wins wherever he goes, or if he stays there. But you saw his ceiling. I think he went as far as he could go.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I'm not the biggest Case Keenum fan. I followed him through high school. I followed him through college. But I think you saw the best that he could do. And if you want to win, they have a Super Bowl contending team outside of about 4 positions. And that is one of them. I would throw the money. Why not? That's the thing. If you sign Case Keenum, you're going to be paying him $20 million anyway. So why not pay $27 or $28 million and get Kirk Cousins?
You know what? If I'm Case Keenum's agent, I'm getting in the Vikings' ear. And if I'm Case Keenum, I'm saying, dude, cut me a deal. Listen, I'll be your long-term quarterback. I'll actually give you, a friendly deal.
I'll be good to you.
I'll be good to you, man. Be good to me. Don't waste your time on this Kirk Cousins. Give me this much, and I'll be cool and spend that money elsewhere. Because here's why. Because I'm a good-ass quarterback on this team. And you know what? You guys could deal with some free agent upgrades here, and we could get back to this thing and go win a Super Bowl. That's the smartest play. That's the best thing for this organization. Not a new Kirk Cousins. A salary-friendly deal for both the Vikings and Case for longevity. And you go back and you refill this team. Because as an Eagles fan, I felt bad for the Vikings. I did. I mean, obviously – not really, but like
did you just have a conversation with yourself and then tell yourself a joke? That was
awesome. I mean, like in retrospect, not in the moment. But anyways, I want to see this organization come back and not waste, everything that they put into all the drafting. They've stayed very consistent.
They'll be around. It doesn't matter who their quarterback is. They're going to be, as long as it's not Glennon. They'll still be competitive. I think so. I really do. So now, real quick, I got to finish this thought before we jump off, and that's tight ends. Man, there are 3 key tight ends that are going to dominate. Jimmy Graham is 31, but he's a free agent, and there's no way Seattle can keep him. They have terrible cap management. Tyler Eifert's 27. I understand the injury bug, but if he is healthy, it doesn't matter what team he's on. Fantasy relevant. And the number 3 is your boy, Trey Burton.
Hey, man, let me get it. Let me go. Let me tell you something, folks. Let me get crazy on you for a second. Go ahead. You make fun of me. I don't care.
That's okay.
Trey Burton is a poor man's Jimmy Graham, and I don't care. Now, does he have the length and all that? No. I'm saying that the guy is athletic as balls, that he can actually go up and get it for his height and for all that. And this guy now has perfected all of those things that, it takes, rookies and all these guys to get to that level. He is at a high, high level. He can also be used as an H-back. They've used him in some different formations that way. Fantasy relevant as hell if he goes to the right place. I'm talking about number one, type of tight end numbers. Not obviously not TE number one, but we're talking about a guy who will be starting most likely if he goes to the right place.
I think you're correct there. I think ceiling in the absolute perfect place, you're talking top 5 tight end fantasy-wise.
Yep.
But he's going to be a tight end one option. I don't care where he goes. The best place I could think of off the top of my head is if Jordan Reed doesn't play anymore and he goes to Washington with Alex Smith, he would play that kind of Travis Kelce role, so on and so forth. The guy is going to play. You send him to Cincinnati where they're losing Tyler Eifert in that same situation. That dude's putting up 10 touchdowns a year. So I'm excited. I'm trying to get him in all my dynasty leagues. I know all the boys that I listen to are in this. That's okay. I'm coming for Trey Burton. I want him.
He's everything Tim Tebow could have been. I'm kidding. That's
Oh
a
my
terrible.
God.
I know. I don't know why I even said his name.
My soul hurts.
I may have ruined the podcast.
Well, that's okay. We're a little ways in. We're at 52 minutes, man.
Woo!
We need to save the dynasty ranks for another episode that's coming, and Charles has a lot of bets to pay off. So we've got a lot of fun stuff coming for you guys. So stay tuned. Just so glad you're back. Peace out. Peace.